Haroun Rahimi, an assistant professor of law at the American University of Afghanistan, joins me now from Rome. Haroun, it's always good to speak to you, and thanks for coming onto the program. And now, when we look at all the meetings that the Taliban is having, first with the US, now with EU officials, what kind of assurances does this group need to give to those Western nations in order to get the aid and support that not just the Taliban needs, but the people of Afghanistan need right now?
The fundamental question right now is the aid delivery. There is really no time left to argue over this, to negotiate over this. What the international community is asking from Taliban is to allow them to deliver aid without going through the Taliban authorities, basically decouple the question of recognition and legitimacy from the question of aid delivery. Taliban, I think, believes so far have indicated that they are interested in that, but it is not clear if that a final agreement has been reached. Both sides are maybe expecting concessions in this regard. The international community may be expecting Taliban to make further concessions in exchange for aid, which would be catastrophic. And I believe Taliban may also expect that in addition to aid, some of the funds that are belong to the Afghanistan that are held in foreign reserves would also be released. So I believe that fundamental question of aid delivery, fundamental question is aid delivery and how it can be decoupled from recognition and legitimacy of the Taliban government.
Yeah, well, that really leads me to the next question, because is there enough time for concessions to actually be made at this stage? The fact is, what we've seen from our reports, people are starving, children are dying, and it's only going to get worse, especially with winter approaching in the next few months.
Absolutely. I think that is the fundamental point that I think the UN is trying to stress to the world, that there is no time. And it is not something that is going to happen. It is happening. The crisis is not in the future. It is in the present. And I think the more time that the politics is taking before actual cash can hit the Afghan economy, so people would need the money, would have the money they need to buy food, before actual aid medicine gets to the country, we just got more people dying. And I believe the world needs to move on from any sort of conditionality towards immediate aid delivery. There's been high-level meetings. UN senior officials have traveled to the country. There have been meetings held in Doha, and now the G20 is another meeting. But it seems to be more and more meetings and discussions, and the actual delivery on the ground has been incredibly slow. There were talks that some cash may be flown into the country to distribute, pay for the aid workers, medical health workers, as well as just pay out to people so they can buy food. But none of it has happened yet.
So meetings, but no real action on the ground. And Haroun, I'd just like to get a sense of what life is like for the ordinary person in Afghanistan today. You're still in contact with people there. What have they been telling you?
The situation could not be worse. Millions of people literally don't have food to eat. They have resorted to selling everything they have, but there are not that many buyers. Everywhere you go to the street, you see people selling household items, but there's no purchasing power. Who would want to buy a TV at this time? On top of all of this, there is COVID going on in the country, so people are getting sick. Maybe it's not the top list of people priority because people have other dire urgent needs, but it is still happening in the country. There's also drought. The harvest season is coming up. For example, today in Bamiyan, this is the season in Bamiyan where people collect potatoes, their harvest, but the harvest has been very limited as well, partly because during the conflict, a lot of people were displaced, so they could not really attend to their farming as much as they should. But there's also drought, one of the severest droughts in Afghanistan history. You also have to realize that a large portion of Afghan population had moved to the city because of how the aid had been spent in the country. There were a lot of jobs in the city. Now that the aid has virtually stopped, people in the urban areas really have no way to feed themselves. In the past, they might have had some land they could have farmed in the village to at least sustain themselves. But that connection to land is also gone. And the people who are in the cities and now without a job are incredibly vulnerable because there is really no way for them to feed themselves. Even last time Taliban were in power, it was a bit different. A larger population of Afghans were living closer to land, and they owned some portion of land that they could actually farm to feed themselves. That is gone. Millions of people in the cities have really no way to find food.
A really frightening situation in Afghanistan right now. Haroun Rahimi, always great to talk to you. Thank you so much.